Breaking news! Another week has passed, and the Detroit Lions are continuing to improve every player's skills. We're confident that Dan Campbell will get this team ready, and we're going to the Super Bowl. If you believe we'll make it to the Super Bowl, smash that like button. And if you want, comment, Super Bowl, here we come. Let's talk about something that's really catching a lot of attention lately, Aiden Hutchinson, our powerhouse on the defense, and why he's considered one of the best in the NFL right now. If you've been keeping up with him, you already know how dominant he is on the field. But if you take a closer look, you'll realize there's so much more going on behind the scenes, and it's these small details that really make Hutchinson special. Now, in a recent episode of The Film Room, Brett Kallman dives into just what makes Hutchinson such a force to be reckoned with, and honestly, the breakdown is mind-blowing. If you haven't seen the nearly 20-minute video yet, I highly recommend it because it gives a whole new perspective on what number 97 is doing out there. Kallman kicks things off with an interesting takeaway from the OL Mastermind Summit down in Dallas. He mentions that when it comes to trench play, power is everything. And guess what? Hutchinson's got that in spades. If you don't have power, you don't have anything, Kallman says, and he's dead right. Lucky for us, Aiden Hutchinson is loaded with it. Whether he's going up against some of the biggest offensive linemen in the league or trying to bust through double teams, that power gives him an edge. It's what separates good players from the greats. Around the 7-minute mark of the video, Kallman breaks down a specific play that highlights Hutchinson's ridiculous technique. We're talking about the kind of stuff that's so subtle you might miss it if you blink, but it's all crucial to his success. He starts pointing out every little detail, from how Hutchinson places his arms, to the way he shifts his hips, and even how he counters the offensive lineman's moves. All of it happens in the blink of an eye, leading to a sack fumble. And the crazy part? It all goes down in less than a second and a half. Kallman puts it perfectly when he says, without breaking it down frame by frame, you probably wouldn't even see it because it's so fast. Strike, drive, neutralize, turn, disengage, rip and finish, all in under like a second and a half. That's next level stuff, folks. You're watching a masterclass in defensive play. He goes on to call this play teach tape, meaning it's the kind of play coaches will use to teach younger players how to get the job done. I'm just scratching the surface here, but the whole video really shows you how much work Hutchinson puts into his craft. It's not just raw athleticism or brute strength, although he's got plenty of both. It's his technique, his understanding of the game, and his ability to execute under pressure that make him one of the best. Kallman's analysis does a great job of breaking all this down, so if you want to really appreciate what Hutchinson brings to the table, you've got to check it out. Now, I want to hear from you, Lions fans. What do you think of Hutchinson's impact on this team? How far do you think his talent can take us this season? Let me know in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Lions content. Alright, Lions fans, let's talk about what's on everyone's mind as we head into the 2024 NFL season, our defense. The Lions are making moves and expectations are through the roof with names like Jerry Jacobs, Cam Sutton, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson leading our secondary. Add in rookie Terrion Arnold and some other key additions like Carlton Davis III and Marcus Davenport. Honestly, this season feels like the ultimate put up or shut up moment for one man in particular, Aaron Glenn. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Aaron Glenn is on the hot seat, but let's be real, our pass rush is a topic worth debating, and I'm here for it. Do we have enough firepower to disrupt quarterbacks? Or are we too reliant on our secondary? Let's dive into it. Some of you might argue that the secondary is just as important when it comes to disrupting quarterbacks, but I respectfully disagree. I believe it's the pass rush that sets the tone. A quarterback has about 2.4 seconds to get the ball out, and that pressure starts up front. It's something I've been hammering on for a while now, and I know it can get repetitive, but trust me, it matters. I've been thinking about this ever since I did a video on Matthew Betts, our Canadian edge rusher. When I analyzed him, I wondered if his confidence might be shaken by playing different roles in the NFL, like the Sam linebacker spot. We saw something similar with James Houston. It was a bit of a learning curve for him too, but look how far he's come. And this brings me to another point. Remember when Deion Sanders was coaching at Jackson State? He once told James Houston that he saw him as a defensive end rather than a linebacker. Houston resisted at first, but Sanders convinced him it was the right move for his career. Now, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell seem to be putting a lot of faith in the idea that we can win with just a few key pass rushers like Matthew Betts and James Houston. But here's my question. Are we relying too heavily on them to play roles they aren't fully comfortable with? When you look at our pass rushers, guys like Betts and Houston specialize in getting after the quarterback. That's their bread and butter. So why are we assigning them other responsibilities? It makes me wonder if Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes think our front four, Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson, Alan McNeil, and others, are enough to get the job done. Let's take a trip down memory lane for a second. Back in 2021, our top top sack leader was Charles Harris with 7.5 sacks. Behind him, there wasn't much. Julian Okwara had 5 sacks, Austin Bryan had 4.5, and Derek Barnes had 2. That's not nearly enough, especially when you're facing elite quarterbacks week in and week out. Fast forward to 2022, and things improved with Aiden Hutchinson leading the charge. But even then, we weren't a dominant pass rushing team. Sure, we jumped from 30th to 18th in sacks, but that's still middle of the pack. We need to be better. Period. So here's what I'm thinking. Why not add a guy like Yannick Ngakoue or Carl Lawson? The market's dried up, but these guys are still out there. Ngakoue has bounced around a lot. 7 teams in 7 years, but that doesn't automatically mean he's a problem. Sometimes it's just about fit. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick or Jacoby Brissett. They've moved around a lot too, but no one questions their character. Ngakoue is a pure pass rusher. We don't need him to stop the run. We just need him to get after the quarterback. It's that simple. Right now, we're asking guys like Betts and Houston to play out of their natural positions, and I'm not sure that's the best approach. Think about it. If someone in our pass rushing rotation goes down with an injury, who's stepping up? Right now, Ngakoue would be the best possible addition to help out Hutchinson on the opposite side. This isn't about bringing in just anyone. It's about getting someone who can make an impact right away. We need that. Now, I get it. Some of you might be skeptical because Ngakoue's been on so many teams, but let's look at the facts. The last 2 years have been some of the best of his career, despite all the movement. That tells me he still has plenty in the tank. We're not asking him to be the face of our defense. We're asking him to do what he does best, get to the quarterback. The truth is, our defense is better than it's ever been under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, but we're still missing that one piece to take us to the next level. Could Ngakoue be that piece? Maybe, maybe not, but at this point, what do we have to lose? So now, I'm throwing it back to you, Lions fans. What do you think? Should we sign a guy like Ngakoue or stick with what we've got? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. Alright Lions fans, let's talk about the latest buzz surrounding the team as we gear up for our preseason matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know you're eager to see more action from our starters, but head coach Dan Campbell has made it pretty clear we're not going to see much of them on the field this weekend. And I get it. Why risk it all in preseason, right? Campbell spoke with 97.1 The Ticket this week and laid it out for us. He said, "We may get a couple of starting D-linemen going here against the Chiefs that didn't play last week. Offense is probably pretty set here. The long and short of it, maybe a couple of guys. That's about it. So, don't be surprised when you're not seeing Jared Goff or Amon-Ra St. Brown out there lighting it up just yet. But here's the kicker. While we might be easing our guys into the action, Chiefs coach Andy Reid is taking a different approach. He came out on Thursday and said that he's planning to play his starters for a whole half on Saturday. Yep, that means we're going to see Patrick Mahomes on the field for a good chunk of time. Reid wants to keep the momentum going, and he's using this preseason game to sharpen his first-teamers. He said in his morning press conference, as far as the play time goes, the ones will take a half, and then we'll kind of fill in after that and just kind of see how the rest of that goes for the third and fourth quarters. So what does that mean for us? Well, our defense is going to have their hands full. We're already dealing with some injuries, so we're going to be a little thin out there, especially in the secondary. Facing Mahomes and a revamped Chiefs receiving core, including their first-round pick Xavier Worthy, is going to be a real test for our depth. And even though Marquise Brown is out with an injury, Kansas City has plenty of other weapons. This is going to be a tough battle for our defense, but it's exactly the kind of challenge we need to see where some of these young guys stand. On offense, don't expect Goff to take the field. Instead, we'll likely see Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld running the show. And listen, let's be honest, last week's game against the Giants didn't exactly go the way we wanted. Scoring only 3 points is not the kind of performance we're looking for. But Hooker didn't get much of a shot in that game after suffering a concussion, so this week could be his chance to bounce back. Hooker is trending toward playing this Saturday, and that's big. If he does start, he'll be facing Kansas City's first-string defense, a unit that ranked second in points allowed last year. But hey, they've lost some key players this offseason. Guys like cornerback L'Jarius Sneed and linebacker Willie Gay won't be there to stop us. So, if Hooker gets the nod, it's a perfect opportunity for him to prove that he can handle the pressure and move the offense down the field. Now, I know it's preseason, and some of you might not get as hyped for these games as you do for the regular season, but think of this as the tune-up before the big show. It's about seeing who's ready to step up when the lights are bright, especially when we're facing off against a Super Bowl caliber team like the Chiefs. This is where depth is built. This is where the foundation for a long season is set. And while we might not see all of our stars out there on Saturday, this game is still a critical part of the journey to what we hope will be an incredible 2024 season. So, Lions fans, here's what I want to know. What do you think about Campbell's strategy? Do you agree with holding back our starters to keep them fresh? Or would you like to see more of them on the field? And how do you feel about our depth heading into this matchup with Kansas City? Let me know your thoughts in the comments because your voice is a huge part of this One Pride community. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay updated with all the latest news and insights as we get closer to kicking off what's going to be a season to remember. Let's go, Lions!